The reason I don't trust you is because you wouldn't allow me to eat on a patio while you were having sex parties. Last Thursday, we here broke a major story on Jay Varma, the architect of COVID policy in New York. And for those who missed it, here's just a brief recap. For those who've already seen it, you can take a potty break. So I want you to take yourself back to March of 2020. Okay, mentally, the beginning of the COVID pandemic. Right, the streets of New York City looked like a dystopian sci-fi movie, albeit with less charm and more hobo urine. No, more than normal for New York City. Now, it was even worse than the rest of the country. Right? Thousands of businesses were forced to close. Millions of New Yorkers lost their jobs overnight, and loved ones were forced to die alone in quarantine. And the man you're about to meet is responsible for all of it. Dr. Jay Varma. Ugh. That's what happens when I say his name. Yeah, you get the little Jay Varma, Jay Varma, Jay Varma.
Like when you kiss your cousin, dude.
Yeah. For a record, he has not apologized. He just said that yours truly is a racist right-wing extremist. Fine. Now, Gerald is on the ground. Like I said, New York City, it's the council. Was it New York City Council Common Sense Caucus? That's what it is?
Common Sense Caucus.
The Common Sense Caucus. They have a press conference today at noon. There will be protesters. City Hall in New York City. Head on down. This story, because of you, was covered by... It's reached tens of millions of people. It's kind of hard to gauge online because people rip it and then re-upload it, and people don't attribute the folks who... But we know that it's reached pretty much everybody who follows the news cycle. And we really appreciate that you've done that. And that's applying pressure now, where some people are wanting to use this as evidence against the city for people who've actually been affected by the COVID policy. And you know, Lane, I don't really follow the people who cover this stuff, but you compiled it and you said it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there was others on our team that definitely have been working overtime to make sure that we don't miss anything, but it was national to international. New York Post ran 6 stories on it. Their print cover was in it. The Daily Mail, Independent, CBS, NBC, anybody you can think of on that regard. Every local outlet in New York, their ABC affiliate, CBS, Fox, and there was also Spectrum News is a thing, but we wouldn't normally include it, but we can.
I still watch Net Zero News.
Net Zero?
Yeah.
Prodigy News.
And then if I don't know, if I feel like I missed something, I ask Jeeves.
I still watch Channel 1 News. It's weird. I got to break into a school. But I leave with a couple milk cartons and I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we have a clip here from Spectrum covering it.
On the front page of the New York Post this morning, former city COVID czar and Bill de Blasio health advisor Dr. Jay Varma, a conservative podcaster, secretly recorded him saying he attended sex parties during the pandemic as he was advising New Yorkers to stay home.
By the way, the lady with the super hot bod is Brian Stelter's wife. That's why we highlighted it, because she loves her some Brian Stelter. Nom, 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 nom. Brian Stelter says she. The Atlantic wrote, public health officials should have been talking about their sex parties the whole time. Here's the thing. I don't even think they should have. I think they should have never discussed it, that they would have been better off. Not the whole so they went the other direction on that. I think it's bad to discuss your sex parties.
I think it's bad to have them.
Yeah, as a general rule.
I mean, when you're locking up everybody. Hey, you're right.
Okay.
Sex parties fun.
In normal times.
Not
in the moment, I'm sure it's fun, but I don't think it's good for you.
Probably, yeah.
Like smoking. Plus, kids, it makes you look really cool. The New York Times said, Mr. Crowder, the podcaster, has routinely used hidden camera and techniques that would be considered ethical breaches in the world of professional journalism. Look, I hear the accusation of ethical breaches from the New York Times. I'm okay with it.
Breach.
By the way, it was even covered by Highlights magazine. Yeah, that was.
No.
I don't know why there were sounds of coins.
Because it's like, I don't know, kids, I don't know, Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, he was in the bank vault doing his dance.
Right, that's true.
Yes, he's got to deposit a couple coins to,
and
This
story, just so you know, you did such an effective job in not only supporting this, amplifying it, that it even forced people who would never, ever want to cover this company and amplify it, whose names have been omitted.
Well, I think there's a point to that does need to be touched on, because people hate us. Like, they really hate us.
Of course. I'm sure Jay Varma, not the least among them.
But the whole media sphere, people even on our side, everybody hates us. Like you said, we're a little bit of an island at some points, but I think that's okay because we can still do this work because of what you've built here. And it's amazing when you force someone to cover that would do everything in their power to avoid it. But this story, it kind of transcends Republican to Democrat to unaffiliated. It affected everybody, which is why I think if Republicans would run on things like this, we would be a lot more successful, because you see when people do tell the story, thousands of people left New York City.
Well, I've said this before. Look, when people say, if you need a flying spaghetti monster to tell you not to steal, you're an awful person. I've said, okay, hold on a second. First off, there are cultures where murder, what we would consider murder, is fine. There are certainly cultures where theft, and certainly cultures where what we would consider pedophilia are fine, right? There are cultural differences in those sort of varying degrees of crime. But there's one thing. So I say it's hard to get the entire world to agree on anything. One thing that is universal, it doesn't matter your color, creed, or language. Everyone hates having the wool pulled over their eyes. Everyone hates the feeling of being scammed, lied to, and it having had a measurable negative impact. Whether it's being ripped off on a car and sold a lemon, whether it's being sold a false bill of goods with a relationship and being screwed in that, whether it's being screwed on your tax, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an infomercial. I thought I was going to get six-pack abs with that little, electronic device. Nope, turns out it does nothing, right? People hate it. The people who are okay with selling child brides in the plains of certain tribes in Africa, right, where that takes place, would still be pissed if they found out that they were buying a 14-year-old and they thought she was 12. That's how universal it is, that people don't like being lied to and screwed. When you add on top of that, in this instance, that people had to change their lives, that people lost their jobs, that people had to say goodbye to family members who were dying in the hospital because of COVID policies and mandates and lockdowns. It is universal. The problem is a lot of people don't want to cover those stories because they're often pulling the wool over people's eyes.
Right.
And that happens on the right and it happens on the left. And that's why they want certain people, partnerships that they can control. You always owe somebody. Look, you're watching right now. Comment below. This may be helpful. Who do you owe? Who do you serve? It's either your boss. It could be, if you're a boss, it could be the employees. It could be a donor. It could be your college. Everyone owes, there is someone, you serve some kind of a master. In this case, we've built this so that we serve you. No one other than you can tell us when to stop. And no one other than you can help us continue. That doesn't mean that you all agree, Mug Club. But there isn't somebody controlling the purse strings. Anywhere else, you have 2 or 3 donors. You have one. Guess what? There are certain stories you don't get to touch. And they will tell you, don't touch this. I know, I've been there. This matters. And there are plenty of people who know about it or something like this. They weren't necessarily able to prove it. And so there are plenty of people who are often upset if you expose it. That's the truth.
It's 100% the truth. And reading through this, the one thing, there was a new op-ed that came out in the New York Times this morning, right before we went on air. And they're so close to connecting the dots, but they're just missing it. They're like, well, this is a big reason why Trumpism is so popular because of the lack of trust in our institutions and blah, blah, blah. Yes, but they just fail to say there should be a lack of trust in the institutions.
It's like dealing with a sociopath or a narcissist where it's like, hey, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to lie and I'm going to cheat. And then, why don't you trust me? Well, why do you think? Let me explain this, okay, just so it doesn't get misconstrued. The reason I don't trust you is because you wouldn't allow me to eat on a patio while you were having sex parties. So I don't know if you know this, the issue didn't just spontaneously erect from the ground. My trust issues. It came from you lying to me repeatedly, and now I don't trust you. CDC. Now, hold on a second. You told me the path to success was to get a college degree from a good school, and I did it, and now I'm in debt, and you told me to vote the Democrat Party, and they told me they were going to forgive the debt, but the Supreme Court said that they can't, and now I have to kill all of you. But it didn't just come from nowhere. It was you. That's why we don't trust you. But the media wants to blame the person whose trust has been violated. That's why you think it's such a big deal. And there are so many people who, even though they have to cover the story because they hear you, they look at you like a broken toy, like a puzzle they have to solve. I don't know why these people don't they know? Why don't they understand that all of these institutions exist to help them, to serve them? Because you're the one who's been abused, so you don't trust. That's how it goes.
Yeah, like a stripper's boyfriend.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Trust me, baby.
Yeah. Now,
I'll be in the corner.
And this was obviously some hard hitting news, unlike, again, what we have become accustomed to seeing in mainstream media. For example, it is Waldo's fault that I don't trust him in scenarios where there's a lot of red and white.
Yeah, it's like you surround yourself in this, man.
Yeah.
What do you expect, weirdo Waldo?
Yeah.
What are you hiding from?
Exactly. If Waldo was my spouse, he was like, hey, I'm going to go to the barbershop pole forest. I'd be like, problem. I think there's a problem there. He'd be like, why do you think what's wrong with you? Like, because I won't be able to find you. He'd be like, why do you say that? Why don't you trust me? Because you always hide in the barbershop pole forest.
I mean, he could get changed and hide somewhere else.
That's true.
Yeah, somewhere right now there's a Waldo Jr. wondering, where is Waldo?
Yes.
He's out for milk.
How funny would it be if he gets changed and it's just camo?
Yeah, it's that.
Where's Waldo coming back in like military uniform? He joined the military.
Like, where's Waldo? Oh, he's got a ghillie suit. So the story, and I just cover this so that you guys can see, and you'll see Gerald down at Town Hall today. Please, if you're in New York City, go and protest, make your voices heard. It's causing real action. Varma personally responded to the story. Now, I know for those who are waiting for an apology, he said, unfortunately, I was targeted by an operative for an extremist right-wing organization determined to malign public health officials and take down the public health system in America. Let me just tell you something. This is where he screwed up. Okay, he didn't apologize. Okay, he'll say racist, he'll say extremist. This is where he screwed up. This is where narcissists screw up. They go, he's actually hitting me because he wants to hit all of the public health officials, right? And they're going, ugh.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to do with them. If he would have just said he wants to malign people, he wants to malign me and sow distrust in institutions, but other public health officials now want to say, hold on a second, I didn't have sex parties. That's going to be his undoing. Trust me. You'll see Democrats go after him because it's a freebie to try and seem objective to distance themselves from him. He's a sacrificial lamb for them. Watch it. I know what I'm talking about. He said, this individual has been highly discredited. Oh, have I? And he has been banned from numerous media outlets for his homophobic slurs and racist rants. It's the exact same playbook you see against Donald Trump, right? Trump up some charges, make them stick, as from our last Mug Club Undercover piece, then say he's a criminal. Well, I'm only a criminal because you tried to make me one. Well, I was only banned from media outlets for homophobic slurs and what you call racist rants because you called them that. You said that the term Sprite was a homophobic slur. Granted, it may be, but it's not that bad.
What about being banned for citing CDC data?
Exactly.
That was accurate.
Well, that's hate speech too. That's misinformation. Yeah. They create a new category of hate speech, of banned speech, of disallowed speech, and then say this person has been banned for speech. That's because you want to control speech. Let's see how this works out for you. I'm placing bets. In those private conversations that were secretly recorded, spliced, diced, and taken out of context, I referred to events that transpired 4 years ago. See sex parties. I served in City Hall between April 2020 and May 2021. During that time, I participated in 2 private gatherings, orgies. I take responsibility for not using the best judgment at the time. Protection. Here's sliced, diced, taken out of context. You ever watched What Would You Do? You ever watched 2020? You ever watched Consumer Reporting, like John Stossel used to do for ABC? Why was it okay back then and it's not okay now? As a matter of fact, it was so okay and deemed so necessary that I believe all states except for 11 have single-party consent states, in large part to protect investigative journalism. We are now entering an era where people feel they can weaponize big tech, weaponize social media, and bypass laws and kill any investigative journalism they don't like. There's a reason that you're allowed to record conversations across the country, that it is legally recognized, because investigative journalism matters. They used to tell you it mattered when they were investigating some corrupt corporation, whether it was Pepsi or it was the Sears catalog, whatever the hell it was. But when it involves government officials, well, now it's your fault. Why don't you trust your institutions? I'll tell you exactly why you don't trust your institutions. It's this simple. You've been abused by them. You have been abused by your institutions, and so you rightfully don't trust them. He went on to say this: facing the greatest public health crisis in a century, our top priority was to save lives, and every decision made was based on the best available science to keep New Yorkers safe. Okay. How is you being sodomized while other people are not allowed to meet? How does that make anyone more safe? Now, I would be okay with, I would say it's not as bad if instead of this fake virtue, again, victim, narcissist, victim. I was just trying to save people. These people are the bad guys. I was having sex parties to save New York.
Stephen King's COVID.
Yes, Stephen King's COVID. Oh, we have to get COVID. You all better have sex with me. So if he were to say, look, I was trying to save lives, and in spite of that, I made a mistake, and that would be one thing. In other words, if he were to say, in spite of the fact that I was having orgies, and in spite of the fact that I took great joy in banning Kyrie Irving or making sure that Kyrie Irving couldn't play basketball, in spite of the fact that I made people uncomfortable, socially pressured them to the point that they were forced to take the vaccine, all of these measures I believe were good for New York. And he does, by the way. That's his virtue. In spite of all that, I made some mistakes. Right? One has nothing to do with the other. That would be different. Instead, he wants you to believe that all the mistakes he made were for you. And it's your fault that you don't trust your institutions. I stand by my efforts to get New Yorkers vaccinated against COVID-19, and I reject dangerous extremist efforts to undermine the public's confidence in the need for the effectiveness of vaccines. Guys, this is a master class. And it's overused because everyone out there talks about, every single pop psychologist, red flags. This is someone who actually thinks that they are the hero, they are the victim, and it's your fault for not trusting them. Comment below and let these institutions know why you don't trust them. You were abused, and so you don't trust. It is now incumbent upon the abuser to prove to you that they will no longer abuse you. In this case, that they will no longer lock you down, that they will no longer mandate vaccines, that they will no longer eliminate your business, ruin schooling because of the pressure from the teachers' unions, which he also admitted, where your children have to deal with those ramifications. It's incumbent upon him to accept responsibility, and no one is beyond redemption. No one is beyond redemption. I want to be clear about that. We really, really wanted to give these people a shot. And we always do behind the scenes. Go, come on, man, level with us. It's just like that. Come on, level with the fact that you were having drinks with your ex and you know what was going on. And come on, if we're going to move past this. No, why don't you trust me? It's the exact same. It is their job to earn your trust. It is not your fault for not trusting them. That's why this story went everywhere. And that's why even Bill de Blasio, who worked with Varma, I just threw up in my mouth a little,
Vomit.
responded saying that he didn't really know about what was going on, so I don't think it was a matter of policy.
If this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
Sorry, gross clip. Here's the right one.
I had no knowledge of it. I find it disgusting and unacceptable. This is someone we trusted as a teammate to tell the people of New York City from his extensive medical background how we could keep everyone safe. And that also meant we all had to show integrity and consistency. I'm shocked. It's painful. It's unacceptable. I have not heard the audio. I hope he has apologized to his colleagues and even more so to the people of New York City. He owes everyone an apology for sure.
He has not, just to be clear.
He has not.
He has
No, instead
not.
he came out and said you spliced and diced it.
Yes.
Got mad about it. What does he want? Do you want you to publish the full
Oh, yeah. Well, we
The
have
full video?
again. When you go on Mug Club, you can see longer. Longer clips.
what
Nothing is taken out of
Is that what his
context.
family wants? His
That's
family
always
wants to
what they
see
say.
The full video of him trying to get laid.
Yeah.
Who has done more harm to the American public health system? People that were skeptical about taking a rushed vaccine, or people that are supposed to be trustworthy that lied to you for years on end?
Right.
It's such a boy cried wolf scenario that there will be a time when there is a real pandemic with a high mortality rate that we need to look to professionals and be like, what do? We don't.
Yeah.
No one's going to be able to trust them at that time.
Right. And
Why would we?
And no matter what they tell you, that real pandemic is not monkeypox.
No.
I want to be very
Mpox.
clear.
I want to push it.
No, they want to push monkeypox because they want people to believe that anyone can get it. Just like Oprah said that 1 in 3 heterosexual couples out there would get AIDS.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, 1 in 5, or sorry, I think it was 1 in 5. You guys can bring it up. Will be
Was she
affected.
one of them, or?
Well, I said heterosexual. I don't know if you know a whole lot about Gail.
I don't.
So now, and I was going to say, Ginger Snap, you can tell us here an update. The bipartisan New York City Council, it's Common Sense Caucus. They're having a hearing. They're calling for a special hearing. And today I know they're in New York City at City Hall.
Right. Yeah. So this is a group on the New York City Council of Republicans and Democrats that try to bridge the aisle a little bit and sort of bring New Yorkers together on causes that everyone can agree on. And so there's outrage from left to right, and what they're doing is calling for that conference today. We have a couple clips in here that'll show specifically what they're asking for, but that's where Gerald's at right now.
Right. Okay. Let me grab this. Let's go to Democrat Council Member Robert Holden, who I believe spoke with Fox 5 about what they would like to see.
This whole thing is disgraceful.
Democratic Queens Council member Robert Holden sent this letter to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the NYPD, calling for a full investigation.
He's also a super spreader, obviously, with these orgies, these sex orgies, and everything else that you're not supposed to do. He's doing, and he's the leading doctor on this in the city of New York during the shutdown.
Here's another one, though, that's really fun. Republican Councilwoman Vickie Paladino ripped Varma on her X account.
Your kids' educations were ruined because this man, this piece of human garbage, said it was dangerous. While this piece of human garbage was out hosting sex parties with the illegal drugs and everything else. Dr. J. Varma, you are a farce. You need to be prosecuted, and you need to face the consequences of your actions. We are calling upon the Adams administration on City Hall steps on Monday at 12 noon, a press conference. I want to see everybody there, whether you were a teacher, a first responder, you were a police officer, you are a fireman, in any way, a small business owner. This affected you.
And what I love most about that is you can tell she really was close to swearing every time. It's like, this piece of you. I'm like, come on, are you going to say it? Are you going to say it? Which actually, we do have, a lot of people don't realize this, and this happens with us too. They have to scale it back. We actually have a copy of her first take.
Your kids' educations were ruined because this man, this piece of said it was dangerous. While this piece of was out hosting parties, you are a you need to be and you need to face the consequences of your actions. Whether you were you are in any way, a small business owner. This you.
I like that one better.
I like that one better too. We're like,
The F one is just so good.
and she also, by the way, she's calling for rehiring and the back pay to all of the workers who were laid off during this. There's also the Republican Councilwoman Ina Vernikov weighed in saying, investigate the Molly popping COVID czar. That's fun.
That sounds like a cool
Remember,
title,
she's the
though.
one that took the gun to the Hamas protest and got in trouble?
Yes.
So she's pretty cool.
Well, one does. You take it, you combine Hamas and guns, and I would also be given pause.
It's not October.
So here's the deal. We don't do this here. We want to just, people talk about clickbait. This is the opposite of clickbait. This is not tapping into something that is out there like Taylor Swift, Donald Trump. Whoa. And then it's just, hey, Taylor Swift said she doesn't like Donald Trump. Comment below and click like. And then it gets 50 million, This is something that requires a lot of work, a lot of time, also educating people because it's a story that you don't know you care about yet. And we really do. We're sincerely grateful to Mug Club. And boy, if you think this is something, wait until you see. You're going to have a heart attack when you see what we brought them on election night. So that's November 5th, 2024, the election live stream of the century. Today, New York City, 12 p.m. Eastern. What do TikTok nurses, COVID lockdowns, and lesbian school teachers have in common? None of them will be included in this next video if you click it. It's the internet. It's a cruel, dark place. I can't promise you the world. But today, I can offer you that. And isn't that a step in the right direction?